Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that has realized this week that we are really, really bad at celebrating milestones or anniversaries, because those of you who have clicked on the podcast service of your choice would realize that this is our 102nd episode. So, which means... Yes, yes. Apparently, we hit 100 a couple 2 episodes ago and totally just breezed right past it.
Wow.
Yes. So my name is Tosin. I am the host of the podcast. We will explain what Netflix vs. Cinema is about in a second and why we came up with that name. But joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Yes. So guys, this is 102nd This is the 103rd episode. 102nd episode has just gone up online. It's just gone live. So yeah, we've been doing this for how many weeks? I guess it's a bit over 2 years if we did it every single week.
2 years and a bit.
A bit of it. And bearing in mind that this is the third podcast that we have done together, that means that we have pretty much been doing this, meeting up on a Thursday and chatting all sorts of nonsense about film for... what, 5 years straight now?
It's got to be at least that. Because they don't make them like they used to. We did a good number of episodes of that one, didn't we, as well?
Yeah, they don't make them like we used to. I think we did 97. I think we did 97.
Oh, we never quite made it.
I don't think we made it to 100 on they don't make them like they used to. We know, well, life got in the way and things got complicated, and then we just ended up not doing that. The film show that we did on Vectis Radio, I have no idea how many of those we did. And now we're here, Netflix and Cinema. We're pretty much experts at this now. Well, we should be. We should be experts about talking about film. I mean, I think we've all been doing that our whole lives anyway. But anyway, guys, congratulations. Happy 100 show. Yay. For 3 shows ago. Yes, so I promised I would explain Netflix versus cinema because you might be listening to this while we're still in a pandemic in April 2020 and thinking, what are they on about? How can a show called Netflix Cinema continue when there's no cinema? Well, we usually would go to the cinema, watch 3 things there, and watch 3 things at home, and then we'll try and answer the question as in, is Netflix killing cinema? Is cinema a dying breed? Is Netflix going to have anything? And in the lockdown, when we do not have cinemas, we have just been talking about what it is we see at home. Even though now we're getting ever so closer, oh so closer to that magic time when cinemas shall reopen. I'm not sure if you guys... I was actually reading an article today about when cinemas are going to reopen, and they had View have said this, Cineworld have said this, Showcase have said this, Odeon have said this, but it's getting close. It's getting close. People are there. They are announcing release dates with more confidence. They realize release dates with more confidence. But at the moment, what we're going to do is we're each going to bring forward one thing that we have seen this week. If there's anything else that we have spoken about, so. I'm sorry, but at the moment, so we're on a Zoom call, and Shaun has this thing. If you look onto our Facebook page, you will see that Shaun has this thing where every now and then every week he shows up with a still from a film in his background, and you have to name the actors and name what film it is in. And at the moment, you have Donald Sutherland behind you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there again. I had a little frown earlier on. I can't get it now.
But the way you were sat, it looked as if you were wearing a Donald Sutherland 70s afro on your head.
There you go.
I just had to say something about that and say. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to bring forward one thing that we've watched this week. If we've watched more than one thing, we'll have a couple of things as an also ran where we'll have a quick 2-minute recap of what that film is about. But there's going to be one thing that we're going to use, and we're going to take 7 minutes each to talk about what it is we've seen this week and give it a rating. So, Shaun,
yes,
you usually watch loads of things. How many things have you seen this week?
Well, I've done a lot of rewatching, and I don't know if that would sort of count. So I watched 3 Days of the Condor again, and I watched The Ghostwriter, and I've been, because on the Sky thing there hasn't been that much new, so I've sort of been rewatching things, and also I've been watching a bit of football, and I got into my boxing again, so I've been watching a few boxing stuff. So, and just doing. I don't know. Just didn't really. I thought, blimey, you haven't seen much this week. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Shaun. I'm sure you'll make up for it next week.
Well, yeah. Well, I was thinking I should maybe save some, and maybe if I watch a load, just do 2. But I'm always sort of, worried that. So yeah. But anyway,
you never get a chance to talk about the films.
Yeah.
So what have you got for? What are you bringing to the table this week?
Okay. Well, the film I'm bringing to the table this week is a film called Archenemy.
Mm-hmm.
Archenemy. So this film, basically a story. It's like one of those superhero ones in the vein of Hancock, or and he's like a little bit of a grizzled superhero.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
There's a bit of an animation. It starts off with a bit of animation about how what happened to him, and then we come into a modern day city, and he's punching a wall, saying, "Oh yeah," he's like, and this chap who's what do they call him? Influencers, or he wants to be an influencer and get on a lot of YouTube. So he sort of films him, and this guy's saying, "Yeah, I used to be a superhero, and I've got there," and he's all saying, he was something. So I
could have been a contender.
Yeah, I could have been somebody. So the young chap decides to call him Max Fist. Okay, so he's saying Max Fist, and so he puts him on his phone and he posts it, and there's all these stories. And he's you get some animated sequences as well in this of how he was a hero in this different dimension, and how he started off as a hero and then became a sort of down and out. And you never really know if he's just sort of delusional or if he's in this. Anyway, cut a long story short, this vlogger guy, this chap,
the influencer guy.
The influencer guy, yeah. He's got a sister who's the sister's a bit she wants to be like get into all this drugs thing and all this drugs thing, and she works for this guy called the manager, and basically she has to do this collection, and she goes to this hotel and something happens and something's death, and she sort of rips off the money. So sorry, someone's at the door. So
Shaun, what happened there? There's supposed to be a time on there. So I was just looking at this. So obviously you're saying like it's a kind of like a take on the superhero thing, but like what a more grounded superhero thing, take on the superhero genre, would you say?
I don't know. I don't really know how to explain this. I don't know if it's a bit like he's definitely not. He's a grizzled hero. He's definitely not the sort of your typical, Superman with the super strength and all that sort of thing. So it's more of a grizzled thing, and you don't really know if. I mean, he's saying all this stuff. He's from another dimension. He's from this. Anyway, back to the sister. The influencer's sister gets involved in a bit of stuff. Decides to rip off the money. Some enforcers come round to sort of see what's happened, and then this Max Fist bursts in and sort of saves her from being killed. And then there's just stuff goes on, but so it's just like normal standard, shoot 'em ups and blocking stuff
with a possible superhero in the middle of it.
With a possible superhero with some animated sequences, and so and then something at the end, which, shall we say, without giving it away, is the title of the film. Movie, of the film, yeah.
Well, so they explain why it's called Archenemy.
Yeah, they do. So, but I mean, that is like, it's quite good in the way of you're thinking through the film. Well, is this guy just your normal down and out drunkie?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, just the microphone.
Oh, wait. So yeah, he's sort of thinking about this. Is he just you're thinking, is he just sort of a delusional drunkie sort of person, or is he actually proper from this different dimension that's come forward to save? And as I say, there's some real animated sequences about things that go on, things that happen, and how he ended up,
being in this world. So okay, Shaun, if you don't mind my saying, it sounds a little bit like you're kind of losing interest even as you're talking about it right now.
Yeah, you're pretty much. I was going to say, when I said what I've watched, I pretty much was going to say, I don't know if I'd be able to talk for 7 minutes on it.
Okay, no
I was
problem.
really, I was sort of thinking,
no problem. I can see you
Yeah.
said he comes from another dimension about 3 times,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, okay, I can feel Sean's balloon is deflating as he's talking about this film.
Yeah.
So that does not bode well for this film.
No.
I'm expecting in the next bit of your review, when I ask you what you actually thought about it, that I was going to hear the words, "What were you doing? Oh, for goodness sake, that would never happen. Why would you do that?" I'm expecting lines along those of a Shaun review. So, what did you think of it?
Okay, well, it's not. I didn't actually do that, believe it or not. I wasn't in that huffy puffy mood, but I just was trying to work it out, and I was thinking, I don't know. It's one of those films where I don't know. It just didn't grab me, It just didn't. It wasn't.
Yep.
But things that I don't think there was anything particularly that I could say, oh, that was stupid. That was stupid. Maybe that would possibly stupid, and why would that guy do that? But no, I couldn't. It was all pretty cool, but I think they might have been trying to set this up for a franchise. I've no idea if it was going to be released at the cinema or if it was made for TV. It was obviously sort of quite a cheap movie, I would think.
So low budget, but it's got some good people behind it. Like the Max Fist guy is played by Joe Manganiello.
Right.
I think
Who's
I'm
he
going
then?
to go. Oh no,
Who's
he's
he
actually he's quite well known. Okay,
Is he?
He's quite a well known actor. I mean,
He's
he was
been True Blood. He was one of the werewolves in True
Yeah.
Blood
Yeah.
back in the day.
I've not seen True Blood, so
He was in True Blood. He was in Magic Mike. He was one of the strippers in
One of
Magic
the
Mike.
strippers.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
Did I go with you to see that, Sharon, or did I go with
I think
someone
you
else?
did, yeah.
Yeah, we went to see Magic Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. I
Yeah,
think we saw the second one together, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah. No,
Okay,
Full
so-
Tilt, or whatever it's called.
No, it's Magic Mike XXL.
XXL, right?
Okay. I think obviously you're talking about Justice League. He was the guy who was going to play Deadshot in Justice League.
Okay.
So he shows up at the end and takes the helmet off. He was going to play Deadshot before DCU went. So yeah, I mean, and he is also known for being married to Sofia Vergara, who is known for being on Modern Family. So he's pretty well known. Elijah Wood is one of the producers of the film. But it does feel like it was supposed to be a small indie thing, almost like an indie take on superheroes. But yeah, and obviously it was released 2020. I think this would have shown up at cinemas, even if only for a short while.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so Shaun, our time's up. How many stars would you give that?
Well, I'll give it a low 3 stars because I quite like the animated sequences. So, but just a 3-star for me, and a low one at that.
It's just a 3-star. Like the animated sequences. I hated those bits where people were actually talking, where people were moving and talking. And, those sucked. All right, cool. So now we are going to go. So next we're going to go to Sharon. Sharon, and you have something from that you saw about a month ago, because you haven't been watching much either. You've been like in the garden and stuff.
Yeah, pottering, adjusting, reading.
All right, so what is it that you're bringing? I think you're like, oh, can I actually remember what that was? But what is it that you're bringing to us today?
Yeah, this is a film called The Professor and the Madman that I saw on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's a 2019 film, so quite recent, relatively speaking, considering that the cinema has been in a difficult situation in the last over a year now. And it's a film that's starring Mel Gibson and Shaun and a host of other famous people that you would definitely recognise if you saw it. And it's basically, the principal story is the professor is Mel Gibson, and his raison d'etre, his reason for living, is he's creating the Oxford English Dictionary. Now, this is the first edition of the Oxford English Dictionary, and they thought it was something that couldn't be done, because since the days of like the very first dictionary, no one's ever tried to compile a dictionary like the Oxford English Dictionary, i.e. that gives you the history, the etymology, the etymology, make sure I get the right one, otherwise people will say that's bugs, that's not words.
Yeah, I think etymology is words, entomology is
Etymology
insects.
is the etymology of words. So it's like So it's a gargantuan task to actually create the Oxford English, and they were finding that the people in the English department were just not getting anywhere. They just weren't making any progress. So they actually put it out to basically the public to say, submit words. And if you can find out the earliest instance of this word, so if you say the first time this word appeared in literature was in this work or wherever, but you can submit words to the Oxford English Dictionary. And this was in the mid-1800s, so the mid-Victorian age, when they were beginning to compile this. And they discovered over time that they got over 10,000 entries from one person. And they discovered, and they were good entries. They were scholarly, they were accurate, they were just exactly what they wanted. And without this one contributor, they would have been sort of wallowing around. It basically cut years off the enterprise of compiling the dictionary. And then they did a bit more digging, and they found out that this man was actually an inmate in Broadmoor, which is at the time, was a hospital for the criminally insane.
Still is, isn't it?
And it still is. It's regarded as, I don't think they call it that now, but it's a high security. It's a high security facility. People who have mental health issues.
I just wanted to say one thing. What you said, that whole thing sounds like the earliest version of Wikipedia that we have, where they say, "Public, what do you think?"
But yeah, we should put it out there. And so this guy, and so that is played by Shaun Penn. He plays the Madman, and then. So you get this, it sounds like quite dry and academic, but then they fleshed it out by saying, okay, when you first meet the Madman, you see the crime he has committed that put him in Broadmoor, and then you see the professor in his life in Oxford, and then these two stories sort of converge, and then they get to meet, and they form a friendship. But you also see the repercussions of why it was a problem having this man who was contributing so much to this effort, because he was in Broadmoor because he was criminally insane. He had murdered someone when he was suffering from a delusion. And so part of the story goes into looking at how they say, well, actually this man is reformed. We can treat him. He's not a danger to the public anymore. He should be, released. He happened to be an American American Civil War veteran, and they're saying, oh yeah, we should release him as you go back to America. And then you see how some of his sort of delusion, his sort of schizophrenia comes back into the lives. So it's an interesting study of against the background of the Oxford English Dictionary, but it's about this relationship between these two men from seemingly sort of polar opposites in where they're live, but how they are sort of drawn together and how they form this deep friendship over many years.
All right, cool. So once you said that Shaun Penn's playing an American, you kind of you sort of bypassed one of the questions that I had, which was, what are the accents like? Because if we have two Americans trying to play English people, that usually does not go well. So
no. I think I think he was playing an American, and he goes through. He played the character from the sort of the depth of his delusion to when he was like his most rational, and then when he's his most obsessed with doing his work, and then how his sort of delusion sort of starts intruding again towards the end, sort of the edge of the story. So he does it well. He's Shaun Penn. He does his stuff, doesn't he?
When you said obsession, I was like, obsession. Shaun Penn playing obsession. Who would have thunk it? Oh, come on.
And for all the issues that Mel Gibson has gone through over the last few years, which we won't comment on here, he can act, and so he played the professor, again someone who's wrestling with obsession because of this undertaking. He played him sort of sympathetically and with a bit of discretion as well, because sometimes Mel Gibson can be a bit furniture chewing, and so this one I think he sort of reined himself back a bit. But the supporting cast was excellent as well. Eddie Marsan, Jennifer Ely, Jeremy Irvin, Ewan Griffith. There's a lot of people in it. Steve, oh my gosh, I think I had a list up here. I think Steve Coogan was in it as well. Yes, Steve Coogan was in it. Yeah, a lot of good people.
I think Eddie Marsan, he shows up in everything.
Yeah, he
he's
does.
He
good
shows up.
in everything,
It's
isn't
like, I mean, Sean, you mentioned Hancock earlier, and I
Yeah,
remember watching
yeah.
Hancock. I'm going, what the heck is he doing here? What's he doing?
Yeah, he pops up a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Was he
Eddie-
was he in Deadpool?
In the second, he was in
In the
Deadpool
second
2.
one, yeah.
Yeah, he was in Deadpool too. Yeah, I think you know what, you have 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I reckon you could do a 6 degrees of Eddie Marsan because the guy pops up everywhere. So okay, so Sharon, before you tell us how many stars, what was Mel Gibson's accent like?
I thought it was okay. Yeah, it didn't. Well, sometimes occasionally the inflection, you put the emphasis on the wrong part of the word, but I think on the whole, he sort of did it, yeah, quite well.
All right, cool, good. And how many stars would you give that?
I would say I enjoyed it, so I'd give it a strong 3. I know we sort of have like shades of 3, don't we, in our podcast?
Yes, we do.
We like, I don't want to give it a 4.
It's like our rating system is actually a spectrum. So,
Yeah.
so if red hot is a 5 and cold blue is a 0, this is somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit tungsten.
Yes. So I would give it a strong 3. I thought, yeah, it was well done. It was entertaining. It shed light on something I knew nothing about. And yeah, it was. There were no sort of clangers in it where you went, I don't know about that. But no, I thought to me it was well done. Yeah, so it was worth a watch. Certainly worth a watch.
Okay, cool, good stuff. Shaun, I'm not sure if you saw. But I shared on the 3 of us have a WhatsApp group where we talk about what films we're going to watch this film, and I shared. I mean, going back to the whole DC thing, and when we were talking about Justice League, you were talking about the New Gods, and you were talking about how much you loved the New Gods, and when I told you that they were making a film from the director of Glory, you were like, oh yes, no, sorry, not the director of Glory, director of Selma, which had the song Glory in it. And you were like, oh, yes. And then I shared you a link to say the DC people who do not know what they're doing have struck again, and that film is no longer happening.
I know. Yeah, you did send me that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that film is no longer happening. So just what I thought I'd say, sorry, Shaun, because she seems quite, essentially, I think Ava DuVernay, she sounds as much of a big Gods fan as you are. And she says her favorite character is a character called Big Barda.
Big Barda, Big Barda.
Big Barda.
Granny goodness.
Yeah, these are all things that mean nothing to me.
No.
They all mean nothing to me. But she says, like, that was her favorite character. She was really looking forward to bringing them to the screen. But DC have gone, oh no, we don't know what we're doing, and they've cancelled that. Even though they're currently developing 2 separate Superman films. So they plan to bring Henry Cavill back for 2 films as Superman, and at the same time they're working on a J.J. Abrams version of Superman, which, I mean, with J.J. Abrams' recent track record, I am not looking forward to at all.
No.
Which may have Michael B. Jordan in it as Superman. So it's kind of like, I don't know what you're doing. And at the same time, obviously, we're going to go back to this Marvel DC thing. Have you been watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I've watched the first episode.
Okay, all right, cool. And I know, because Falcon and Winter Soldier, obviously, we're not going to review it because it isn't over yet. And coming after WandaVision, I always worried, and I think I told you this, that I was worried that because WandaVision is so out there and it's so crazy and it's so, oh my God, what is going on? We haven't seen this before. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was always worried, was going to end up looking a little bit normal and a little bit run-of-the-mill and a little bit just sort of middle of the road. And but even within that stuff, which is a little bit more straightforward, almost like a buddy comedy thing, there's a lot of things that they're doing. And it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier is where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is finally encountering and trying to deal with race. And it's trying to deal with race, and it's trying to deal with, like, something a little bit more political. And it's essentially a straight sequel, pretty much a straight sequel to Captain America Civil War. and it deals with some of the issues that show up in Captain America Civil War that they had to forget about because Thanos showed up. And it deals with those sort of things. And I'm like, I like what they're doing. It is not as explosive or as mind-bending or as out there or as inventive as WandaVision. But I think what they're doing with it, I think is actually quite good. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, as I say, from the first episode, I can see where you're coming from there with the bank and stuff, and that scene in there. Oh, yeah. Can I have your autograph?
Oh no. There's other places.
Selfie,
There's other places. There's like a scene where it pretty much goes. It doesn't matter if, there's a scene where it pretty much goes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you are a superhero in America, you're still black, therefore the police will treat you in a certain, and it's kind of like, there are some scenes in it, but anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
We will. Yeah, we'll talk about that later because there's another series. There's a second series of Pennyworth I have to watch. So I don't know what's going to be next.
Yep. But I think we only have 2 more episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then if you don't watch it, Shaun, I will come in and I'll tell you all about it and how Marvel are expanding their world. But onto the film I was actually going to talk about today. Now, I wanted to talk about another film. Because if you guys, I'm not sure whether you guys were aware of it, but the BAFTAs happened.
Yes.
I know. Shaun looks shocked. Shaun looks shocked. The BAFTAs happened. Films have won awards for best film and all that kind of stuff. Didn't even know they were on. It was only afterwards that they said this film's won, and I haven't really even looked to see who's won. I just know, they happened. But there's a film, and so these films that are nominated for awards, especially the Oscars, are beginning to show up on streaming platforms. So I wanted to watch a film called Sound of Metal because Riz Ahmed. Yes.
And we're interested about this one.
Yes, Sound of Metal. This is actually on Amazon Prime, and Riz Ahmed has been nominated for a Best Actor Oscar for his performance in this film, and all I've heard is rave things about it. But I ran out of time. I mean, there's a baby crying, and I have to leave this podcast in a second to go give her a bath. So priorities have changed. So I couldn't watch Sound of Metal, but I did watch a film called Palm Springs, and this is a film that has gotten held over because of COVID and everything with Andy Samberg and Kristen Milotti. And do you guys remember a film I reviewed a couple of weeks ago called The Map of Tiny Perfect Things?
Yes.
Yeah. That was on Amazon Prime. This one was also on Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime seemed to be trying to make themselves the home of the time loop film. Because this is another time loop film. It's another time loop film, only that this time it's like time loop film for those who are maybe a little bit older. Maybe if you're in your 40s going towards your 50s, this might be the time loop film for you. So as you know, it's and once you have watched enough films like the three of us have, once I say time loop film or time loop comedy, you have an idea of how this film's going to go. You know, you have a film what's going to go.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, essentially Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day has become like the gold standard of the time loop film. I mean, it wasn't the first. There were other time loop films before Groundhog Day, but Groundhog Day has become like, the gold standard that says if you're going to make a time loop comedy, how can you do anything that Groundhog Day didn't do? And in both the map of Tiny Perfect Things and in Palm Springs, both these films, I think that their approach is Groundhog Day was really about the man. It was about the man, and it was about the man becoming a better person and all that kind of stuff. And so what we're going to do is I actually think that these two films, I can see a world in which there was a writer's camp, and they went there and they said, oh, what's an idea? And two people sat down, imagine if we had a time loop comedy and a man and a woman got stuck in it together, and as they're trying to figure a way out of it, they kind of fall in love, and someone goes, oh yeah, and took that idea and wrote a teenage film, or somebody took an idea and wrote a 40-something, 50-something film. Because I feel like both of them are almost kind of the same. They start off with the guy. They start off already in his time loop. You don't know how many times he's done it, but Andy Samberg wakes up in the bed, and he's just kind of like, you can see he's like, he's at a wedding, but everybody else is dressed up all nicely, but he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. He like really, really doesn't care. He doesn't give two anythings, and but you can tell that he knows exactly what's going to happen. He's doing all these things to show that he knows what's going to happen. So he goes to Christine Milotti, who is the older sister of the bride, and he sort of like talks to her and everything like that, and you can see that he's trying to get her to sleep with him. Essentially, they go out into the desert and they start getting off with each other, and all of a sudden an arrow hits him in the back, and he starts running around, and then there's some guy running him, just firing arrows, and then J.K. Simmons shows up as a character called Roy and just starts hunting Andy Samberg and firing arrows at him. And she's like, what the hell's going on? What's going on? And he's like, don't worry about it. Then J.K. Simmons walks into this cave with this glowing light into it. Andy Samberg goes into the cave as well and tells her, don't come in here. Whatever you do, don't come in here. But then he disappears. Then she walks into the cave. She disappears. And then she wakes up the next morning in a bed on the same morning of the wedding that just happened. And then she's like, what did you do to me? He's like, oh, you followed me into the cave, didn't you? I told you not to follow me into the cave. And so what happens is that there's this mystical cave. They don't quite understand it. That gets them into this time loop. And then what happens is, there's different variations of the same day and how they go about it and what they do with the time. There's a few different wrinkles where it's kind of like he's been in a time loop so long that he cannot remember what he did for a job before he went into this. And there's a sort of existential where he goes, I've been in the time loop. I have tried everything to get out of this. I don't think there's any way out of it. And I think I've tried to be a better person, like the Groundhog Day thing. I've tried to do this and none of it has worked. And so I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to accept that life is meaningless. Anything I do is meaningless, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, there's a reason why she's like, I can't keep living this same day over and over again. There's something that you can see she's not happy about or that she's quite ashamed of, that she's like, I cannot keep living this day over and over again. So the difference with this compared to other ones is that whereas Groundhog Day is like kind of almost a bit mystical and leans into this happens, but we don't know why. This goes scientific and goes, this is how a time loop could happen. And if we're going to get out of it, this is how we're going to get out of it. And I think in this, there is probably the best use of a time loop. Like if I have infinite days, I'm going to do this, and it's quite good. So it's essentially a love story. It's essentially a grown-up thing, but it does ask, it sort of uses the whole time loop concept to ask questions about what life means and how we are, or anything like that. It is, I think, supposed to be a comedy drama, and I would say it's all right. I would give it a 3. I've heard people I heard about this because people were raving about this at Sundance. It gotten 5 stars everywhere I was looking. But when I watched it, I was like, oh, look, we have a cat. Are you in a time loop? So, how many lives have you got? So I think it's quite good. I don't think it doesn't get anywhere near the sort of emotional or the feel good factor you get when you watch Groundhog Day, that I feel they just sort of nail, and they bottle that feel good factor in Groundhog Day. I don't think it gets anywhere close to that. It's more cynical than Groundhog Day is, but it does, I think the heart of it comes from, there is one speech that J.K. Simmons does. And you know how J.K. Simmons is. He will show up, he'll give you one speech, and you just be like, oh yeah, this guy's good. Because it turns out that he is also in a time loop. But what he does, but the way different people approach being in the time loop, what he does with it is actually kind of sweet. So, Palm Springs, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think the performances are great. Andy Samberg, Christine Milotti. Christine Milotti is someone who I really, really like. I think she should be a bigger star than she is. She was the mother in How I Met Your Mother. That's what she's probably best known for. She was in the TV on the stage show of Once, and and I think she's really good, but not that well known. And
so I can't visualize her at all.
No, I can't either.
No, I mean, I think Shaun, if I was going to think of something that would be in your wheelhouse that you have seen her in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Right, okay.
She plays Leonardo DiCaprio's first wife. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she plays his first wife before Margot Robbie shows up on the scene. And I think.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've got a rough idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you want to see, there's a document, well, not a documentary, but a sort of mockumentary on Netflix called Death to 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, she plays a character in Death to 2020 who sort of like gets easily swayed by what she sees online. But yeah, so that's it for me. I would recommend Palm Springs, but there's a little bit of me that goes, it's a time loop comedy. We've seen these. We know what happens. It's there's conventions that you have to ascribe to, and as much as you might play with them, you're going to end up back in the same place. There's going to be a bit of a fuzzy ending, but a warm fuzzy ending. So, because I think people wouldn't watch it if it had like a horrible existential, we're stuck in this forever. But anyway, so that is it for me. Do we have anything else that anybody else would like to say before we sign off?
Well, it's all pretty It looks like it's pretty sort of, things are becoming a bit more, I wouldn't say mundane, but a bit more sort of average now, aren't they? I mean, today's been an average. Today has been an average show.
Yeah, today's been an average. Three stars across the board. 3 stars across the board. I think, generally speaking, it sounds like maybe some interesting ideas, but not quite held all the way through to the end. I think it's right about the thing. And with this one, I know we have different shades, and we have the spectrum of our rating system. This is a bang on 3 stars. I'm not high 3, not low 3, just 3.
Just 3.
Yeah, for me, it's just 3. I love everybody in the film. I love the performances, but it's just a 3. Right, cool. So until next week, where we get closer, and maybe we get to watch some of the films that actually have Oscars. Because
I'd like to see that. Is it called Nomads?
Nomadland.
I really wanted to see that. Even when, before the second lockdown, I remember that there was mention about, and I thought, I'd really like to see that movie. So
yeah, go
on. Sorry.
It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So on Disney Plus, I logged into Disney Plus the other day, and they had Nomadland at the top, coming soon to Disney Plus. They didn't tell you when, but they said soon. I would imagine that it would possibly be around the Oscars. If I had to bet, I would say probably just after the Oscars.
Yeah.
I think just after the Oscars, they'll release it, and they're hoping that it's going to win something. So I know there's Nomadland, there's Minari, and Judas and the Black Messiah are getting. I know that you can pay to watch that, and I refuse to, because I'm like, I have enough. I'll pay for enough streaming things. Put it on one of those. But so Judas and the Black Messiah is getting a lot of buzz because Daniel Kaluuya has been winning best actor things and all that left, right, and center. But we shall see. We shall see what we end up with. So until next week, when we might actually have watched some Oscar contenders, it is a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.